To this now, teachers at two schools in Musina, Limpopo say they are struggling to do their jobs due to overcrowded classrooms. According to a report by GroundUp, Renaissance High has an average of 90 learners in its 4 grade 8 classes, while Musina High has an average of 50 learners in its 8 classes. DA Limpopo Provincial Leader Lindy Wilson joins us for more on this discussion. Lindy, thank you so much for joining us this evening. A very, very dire situation there as well, not only for the learners, but of course the teachers too, because how can they effectively do their jobs under such conditions?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And let me tell you that the two schools in Musina are just one example. A couple of months ago, I reported exactly the same situation in Elias Matsueledi, formerly Groblersdal at the Sanko School, where we have the same situation. So this is not new to us. It is a severe situation. We have been fighting this for quite considerable time. We keep getting told these matters are being resolved. We go back there a couple of months later to check on the progress, and absolutely none is made at all. And indeed, it's hard on the teachers. Number one, because most of the schools are under-resourced. The Premier in her speech, in her SOPA speech, said that she was going to she was assuring us in this term that she would ensure that 506 school principals, 400 deputy principals, and 1,644 department heads would be appointed. Well, if you look at those numbers, it gives you an immediate indication of how under-resourced, number one, those schools are in terms of educators, let alone classrooms. And in actual fact, the situation with education in Limpopo at the moment is very, very dire. I could speak about this for a week. No water, no classrooms, no teachers, teenage pregnancies. The situation is very, very serious at the moment.
And just elaborating on some of the conditions that you've just mentioned as well, no water, for instance. I mean, just a basic human right such as water as well. But also some of these learners learning under trees, no desks as well. What are the other instances as well of these kinds of conditions that these learners are subjected to?
Well, indeed, and that's what I highlighted in the Sanko conditions a couple of months ago when I took on that situation. We had the photographs. We visited the school where matric learners were sitting under the trees to do their studies, and that's just totally unacceptable. I mean, only 6.3% of our 3,622 schools have got laboratories. Now, you can't do sciences in a school if you don't have laboratories. Only 8% of these schools have got libraries. And of that 8%, only 34% of the 8% are actually fully stocked. So, and it's hardly surprising. I mean, education, we've just obviously done budgets and annual reports, and they are sitting with a 4.129 billion rand in irregular expenditure. So clearly, education in Limpopo is on the verge of collapse. One wonders actually why it hasn't been put under administration.
4.129 billion rand in irregular expenditure. That is alarming indeed as well. But also, what happens to the budget, Lindy, if we have only 8% of schools that have libraries, a lack of laboratories as well? What does that kind of impact on STEM subjects like science and maths?
Well, the Premier last year got very, very excited about the 79% pass rate of our matriculants. And we said to him, no, sorry, you're actually very sadly mistaken. 56,000 students fell out in the matric year. This is the consequence of poor education, poor facilities, poor teachers. Children give up. They lose hope. Why must they even try to write an exam when they're not getting sufficient education? So when you look at the real picture, we actually did appallingly in our matric results last year. Sure, it might have been 79% of the children who actually wrote matric, but they're not taking into account the 56,000 kids who just gave up. They couldn't work in those conditions. They couldn't study. They didn't have teachers. And the end result is we've got a province with a lot of uneducated kids who have not got their matric, who are going to be affected by unemployment in the future because they're not going to qualify for opportunities. So, it's a ripple effect. What you don't have right now ripples out, and it causes major consequences in the years to come.
Where does the money go, the budget that is allocated for the Provincial Department of Education?
Well, obviously, like so many departments, there are a lot of your budget is given to you in terms of grants. What we have managed to establish, and we're still busy with that with other departments, is that where there was incorrect expenditure of grants or underspending of grants, and this is what we are seeing, those monies are returned to the Treasury. And the moment you find yourself in that situation, when your next budget comes out, the Treasury cuts. And as long as that happens, your budget then gets considerably reduced and you are unable to deliver. And that is the situation we are looking at the moment. We are obviously investigating 4 billion rands worth of irregular expenditure. I mean, that's absolutely horrendous. But keeping in mind that the entire province's irregular expenditure is 18 billion rand.
So you're saying there's a bigger problem. It's not even just the Department of Education on its own.
No, I think the entire legislature, I think every department in the legislature in Limpopo is a crisis. We had health meetings this week, and that is where we discovered that in one hospital alone, I think it's in the Mapani district, one hospital alone, 500 girls between the age of 10 and 14 had babies last year. 500.
Shocking indeed. Lindy, thank you so much